Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, a sports ethos show brought to you by our great partners at FanDuel. I'm Aaron Bruski, joined as always by the great Dr. A. In this show, as usual, we're diving into top ads, breaking down players in the drop zone, and highlighting the best streamers that can help you guys win your week. So let's get started. Doc, my long-lost boss. We'll go with boss. How are you doing? And who's your top ad after last night?
I'm nobody's boss.
You're my boss today.
All right. I'm going to add your guy and my guy, our guy, Derek Jones Jr. He had a rough night last night. If you look at the box score, you're going to be like, I don't like what I saw. But he took 12 shots, which was the third highest total on the team. They got a win over the Warriors. So it wasn't just a throwaway. And it was the second night of a back-to-back, and Kawhi Leonard and him, Brook Lopez, all got out there and played. But I just like the fact that he took 12 shots. He only hit 2 of them. He finished with 9.6 boards and a steal. He shot 4 threes and missed them. He just had a bad night. If he's going to get shots in this offense, I kind of like Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah, and they seem to be falling apart with, sure, Darius Garland's coming in and maybe will take up some space in that box score, get up to 30 minutes per game, theoretically, potentially. But in the front court, it feels like they're starting to fall apart a little bit. John Collins is getting injured. I think at some point in time, Kawhi Leonard wants to take time off to get ready for the playoffs, as the Warriors, these teams are sort of locked into the play-in right now. So Derek Jones Jr. seeing his way through that makes a lot of sense to me. So I like it a lot. I'll take us to Golden State. Moses Moody, 10 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 threes. We really got some barn burner lines here, Doc. But I think in the same vein as Derek Jones, the Golden State Warriors are probably looking to get Steph Curry healthy. Kristaps Porzingis is just God knows where, dealing with his illness, which is actually rather serious, keeping him off the basketball floor. So somebody like Moses Moody, who also got dinged up toward the end of last game, we got to keep an eye on that. But the others down the lineup might be the ones carrying the weight for the Golden State Warriors, and Moses Moody can kind of crank it up into the top 75 range. So I like him as a little bit of a speculative ad or a hold, depending on how you want to look at it, because he's been producing pretty well lately. So Moses Moody. Doc, who do you got?
I will keep us in Golden State, and I will submit one Al Horford for consideration. Last night he had 17 points, 4 triples, 6 boards, 3 dimes, a block. I feel like the Warriors' schedule has been spread out, so there haven't been hardly any back-to-backs lately, and it's kind of allowed Horford to just go out there and play every time the Warriors play, and he's been playing very well. I just looked it up. The problem with this Al Horford move is the Warriors still have 5 back-to-backs left, which has to be a lot, considering that there aren't that many. There's not that big of a chunk left in the season. So I think the 5 back-to-backs is a lot. I think that means you're looking at, 4 or 5 more missed games from Horford. But if you want to stream him or roll with him on nights when he's playing well.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I also think they want to ramp him up for the playoffs. I wonder if they even consider Kristaps Porzingis a part of their playoff plan. I would hold off a couple of weeks before really leaning into that statement. And at the same time, they know they have Al Horford, so I think they're going to want to just get him up to peak playoff shape, especially since they're not really trying to plan for June. They're just trying to survive the play-in and then get to the next round and on and on and on. Having Al Horford just at a peak physical shape, at the peak MPG that he can handle with consistency, I think they're going to ramp him up toward that. And then he's going to also give everybody his best. So I like the Al Horford pickup, especially where you can manage those games played. Let's get back to the Clippers, and actually like Chris Dunn, maybe more than Derek Jones at this point. 16 points last night, 7 boards, 7 assists, 2 steals, 2 threes, 26 minutes. He's just a little bit more interesting for me from a stat set perspective. It feels like Derek Jones needs the 30 minutes per game. And then sometimes things can get pretty good for Derek Jones. He could get into the top 80 and 100 range. But Chris Dunn, sometimes he's just like 24 minutes. And he could be like a solid top 125 guy. And then if they start falling apart a little bit, and if he starts creeping up into this 26-minute range, he doesn't generally go higher than that. I don't know if his body can handle it at this stage of his career, but the numbers seem to follow, and Chris Dunn can get spicy real quick. So Chris Dunn. Doc, who else you got?
This is kind of a weird one. Another off night. Will Riley of the Washington Wizards. There is almost nothing that I trust in Washington right now except Will Riley. In his last 5 games, he's gotten between 29 and 36 minutes. He put together 5 very good games in a row before last night. He was 1 of 9 for 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, but he also had 3 steals and a 3. The thing I like about Riley is these minutes. Like, he led the team in minutes last night. He's probably led the team in minutes in 5 straight games, if I had to guess. Last night was an aberration. Like, he just didn't hit his shots. And Bilal Coulibaly was there and played okay. And other guys were doing stuff for Washington, but this Will Riley kid, I just feel like he might be the only guy locked into 30 minutes a night for Washington.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule just to see what things look like for Washington going forward. It is pretty funny. Like, they play just a ton of good teams. Orlando tonight, and then they get make sure I'm on the right team. Yep. Utah on Thursday. I think Utah could be a big game for Will Riley on Thursday. They get New Orleans. That's nice on Sunday, but then it turns back into the good teams situation with Miami, Orlando, Boston the following week. And who knows with these games? I mean, those teams could completely take the night off, and a guy like Will Riley could produce. So, but I'm looking for junky, tanky matchups where it looks like the 24-hour fitness gym just opened up late at night. You get that following week, Golden State twice against Detroit, and then OKC. So yikes. And then, it doesn't get much better for the end of March. So hopefully these guys can all survive, but Will Riley getting minutes is at least a decent equation there. Speaking of minutes, Ousmane Dieng got 30 minutes last night. He didn't do much with them. He had 13 points, 3 3-pointers. The good news ends there. Everything else came up empty. I will actually be talking about Ousmane Dieng in probably multiple shows, I think, or maybe our next show, but in my 30-team breakdown after these shows. I've got some fun stuff for you guys about Ousmane Dieng that's kind of really interesting. But the bottom line here is Giannis returned and they lost, and it felt like that team gave up, and maybe they just don't like Giannis on the floor. Whenever they decide to turn the page, I think Ousmane Dieng is going to get a lot more interesting really, really quick. It's a total risk reward stash right now. If you're fighting for your life in the fantasy playoffs, it's not something you can do right now. But if you can, for whatever reason, hold open a space, I still think there's hope. All right, Doc, let's shift gears. Let's get to players who are struggling, the potential buy lows, candidates to drop. Who is your first player in the drop zone, sir?
I think we're going to be talking about Ousmane Dieng a lot, as you predicted, because my first player in the drop zone is Kyle Kuzma. Look, Giannis came back last night, and I was sort of wondering what this was going to look like. Well, what it looked like was Ousmane Dieng in the starting lineup next to Giannis and Miles Turner, along with Kevin Porter and AJ Green, with Kuzma not only coming off the bench, but not even getting off the bench. He got a DNP CD. This makes me wonder if Kuzma's out of the rotation or if they were just giving him a night off. I'm not really sure what's happening there, but
well, Giannis doesn't come back without like a guarantee of like some competitive aspect, right? Like, am I wrong on that? Like that to me, I mean, I don't feel like it's a lock what I'm saying. Like, Giannis is going to come back and play, and what's the benefit to him? Like, more injury risk. He can lose his ability to guide his own future. Let's say he has a bad injury, and now all of a sudden people are like, we don't want to pay this dude who gets injured all the time. He's making a ton of money. He's a ball hog, like can't shoot, he's lost a step, all the things, right? And, Milwaukee, same thing. They can't trade him for a boatload. So what's the only thing that would matter is competition, being able to get into the playoffs. Well, they decided that Ousmane Dieng was going to be in the rotation. Did they decide that Ousmane Dieng was better? than Kyle Kuzma? Or is this like a kind of a nod to Giannis, like, hey, we are not going to throw out our veterans every single night for you. We are going to develop guys. I don't know, Doc, your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, we don't have much to work with, right? Like, we don't get much news out of Milwaukee, and like, we're going to kind of have to wait and see how the next 2 games go, because Jang could go to the bench and not play, and Kuzma could get 30 minutes, or they could do the same thing they just did. So I'm not really sure, but I do know that Boston routed them in this game, and it was never close. And if your theory about 3 more losses for the Bucks before they shut it down is right, then we're only 2 more away at this point. So yeah,
look, that box score, I mean, all these guys that had been producing, the Kevin Porters, the Ryan Rollins, I mean, say whatever you want about Miles Turner, it looked like those dudes rolled over. I bet you're cruising, you're taking shots, you're having fun, and the guy that's kind of yelling at you early in the season about not playing well enough or hard enough comes back, and he's not going to be there. He's throwing a monkey wrench at all the players. You're like, nah, I think we're going to lose those 3 games real quick and get back to having fun.
I don't think that is too far off the mark.
Right. And speaking of not getting a lot of news out of places, shout out to Dane, I believe Moore, who shot back at a certain company that doesn't want to have reporters in locker rooms. I think it's just really interesting. We can't get news from any of these places, and the news ecosystem's falling apart, and yet folks really want to support the social media platforms bringing it all down. All right, enough about that. I'll get us to DeAnthony Melton, who was pretty quiet, 7 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 3, 27 minutes. And I just think he's going to be low and slow the rest of the way. He's going to get a couple games off here and there, and maybe even reach up to the stars and get you some classic DeAnthony Melton games with, like 4, 5, 6 cash counting stats of the threes, the steals, and the blocks. It's been a little bit slow and quiet lately, but I just have this bad feeling about Steph's knee. He feels like he's searching, like he doesn't really know what his knee is going to do in however many days. And if they are actually locked into the play-in and the home games within the play-in, kind of, they do matter. But I think these teams are basically like, let's get ourselves healthy. We'll take our best shot in the 1 or 2 game scenarios. And then, we'll just kind of roll with the results. And if Steph misses, like, say, a second and a third week, well, you're going to have 2 to 3 weeks of DeAnthony Melton and the rest of the Warriors getting a free run at stats. So I like DeAnthony Melton as a whole. Doc, who do you got next?
Brook Lopez. 24 minutes, 6 points in a start, 0 threes, 4 rebounds, 0 blocks. I just know that Brook Lopez is being held in leagues where he shouldn't be. I think I'd rather have Andre Drummond than Brook Lopez at this point. Ooh. Like, it's bad.
Lopez has had a little bit of value lately, though, like kind of in the top 100 range. It's very sporadic and it's shaky as all hell. What about Andre Drummond? Do you like more than Brook Lopez? When you said that, I kind of agreed with you a little bit.
I just don't like every time I look at a Brook Lopez game, it's crap. Now you're right. The game before that, he had 16 points and 7 boards on 4 threes. So it's
the variance, though. It's both those guys. Andre Drummond's got a shot here with 2 more games with Joel Embiid out. And I think he's been a little bit more noisy lately, Drummond, that is, than there was a long stretch of major struggles, whether it's the stats doing the talking or the local beat writers doing the talking. Like Andre Drummond, whatever juice he was on in the beginning of the season.
I think he just had a big game in his last one. Like he kind of blew up in that game. And maybe I'm confusing Brook Lopez with DeAndre Ayton here. Maybe I'd rather have Drummond than Ayton, but either way, Lopez is playing minutes. I don't know that you have to drop him. It's just been rough, man. Like last night, there was nothing. The game before that, it was okay. The game before that, he hit 2 out of 12 shots with no blocks.
I think the encouraging thing though about Lopez is at least like this has been more noisy lately than most of the season. You
Yeah.
know, at least he's
Yeah.
given us some signs of life, and it feels like they're carving a rollout for him in Los Angeles. Whereas before he had no role, everything was sporadic. The pops were far and few between.
Well, and
I'm
I think he's also helped with this John Collins injury as well. So, I don't think you just drop Brooke Lopez automatically, but you got to make sure. I mean, there's so many soon to be waiver wire heroes out there that you don't need to hold on to mediocrity necessarily.
14 team leagues probably for Brooke Lopez, 2 center formats probably for Brooke Lopez. And the fact that Yannick Koenig-Niederhauser is playing well kind of caps a little bit of the upside because it doesn't seem like he's going to be losing his 18 minutes per game anytime soon. So when John Collins comes back, it's going to get a little thin for Lopez. He needs all the help he can get. I'll take us to Isaiah Collier. 10 points, 6 assists in this game, 2 boards. You got to tip your hat to the guy. He's been pretty good for what he's doing out there. A lot of, the stat flaws are the free throw shooting, the turnovers, and the lack of 3-point shooting, but he makes up for it by having a 50% field goal percentage. And I mean, there's the times when he gets the 48 minutes in a game, or when, whenever Keontae George, who's back now, is out, he's pretty good to go for what you're looking for out of him. And I think you're going to probably want to, depending on your stat set, if you've been enjoying all of that, the lack of versatility, but getting what you need out of it, then you probably want to hang on a little bit here and just see what they do with Keontae George, who looked extraordinarily healthy last night. And I thought that like Utah management, like Danny Ainge, was going to run onto the floor and kneecap his ass because he kept trying to win the game last night. And then he subsequently took a ton of bad shots and made a bunch of bad decisions that I think he didn't really. I don't think his plan was to help lose the game, but he helped lose the game in that one. It's an interesting story for Keontae. I'm going to cover him in a little bit here in the next show. But for Collier, if the stat set's good for you, I would probably hang on because I think you're going to see a little bit more of him going forward. But in the short term, whenever Keontae's around, I think he starts to become a drop or a bench candidate, however you look at that. Doc, who do you got next?
Cam Thomas, the name is bigger than the game right now. The minutes just aren't there. Like ever since he got moved to the Bucks, the most minutes he's played in a game was game 1, and that was 25 minutes last night. He played 11 minutes, missed all 3 of his shots, scored 2 points. He scored in double figures in 4 of his last 5 games. The minutes aren't there. I don't know why the Bucks would decide to turn to Cam Thomas if they are eliminated from postseason or if they throw in the towel altogether. I don't know. I don't know why they would go to Cam Thomas. So, I mean, to me, this is a guy that doesn't have a fantasy-friendly game to begin with, and the most you're hoping for is a bunch of points and some threes. And he's not shooting the ball well at all. So I think I'm just straight up moving on from Cam Thomas. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I have no clue what Milwaukee was thinking here with this. Like, did they think that this would make Giannis happy? Like, that's crazy. I mean, but there's a thing in the NBA. Players like scorers and they like names. They're not pouring through fantasy basketball stuff all day, every day, and really going, oh yeah, Cam Thomas doesn't do anything but shoot and score. And I think they just kind of get caught up in the scoring aspect of it. I don't think he's got it in any angle. Like, I think that if they're going to let people run around and chuck, it's going to be Kevin Porter and Ryan Rollins. And that's where I'll go next. Ryan Rollins, 5 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 3, 24 minutes. Miles Turner, 5 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 3, 19 minutes. I think this is a throwaway game. I think this was the reaction game to getting Giannis back. I think, if anything, one interesting development, I think, with Giannis coming back, other than everybody's numbers are going to claw, back down a few rounds, is somebody like Bobby Portis might actually get a little bit more involved in the stat set, because that's an old kind of security blanket for Giannis, and they played so long together that I think that they might start running some of their old stuff. But Ryan Rollins and Miles Turner are going to be fine, I think, whenever Giannis exits stage left. And so you probably, if you have a trade deadline still available to you, you're going to either look into buying Ryan Rollins low with this, but you're going to also hold Ryan Rollins. And then Miles Turner, I think you just evaluate him as a top 90 to 100 guy going forward, regardless of what's going on. I mean, he's produced this much this way all season, and he's done it with Giannis in, and he's done it with Giannis out of the lineup. And I think if anything, we're to see Giannis out of the lineup, so you'll get a little bit more freedom for Miles Turner. And then you hope that his sort of helter-skelter, chuck a couple threes here and there, and get a bunch of defensive stats and junk games profile. You hope that pans out. But while Giannis is back, this next week or two, or however long they decide to roll with this, it will be bad for Miles Turner. And maybe you do have to make a tough cut there, depending on, if your fantasy life is on the line. I guess the argument for keeping him is that he's going to play some minutes and that he is a starter for this team. But give it a couple of weeks for these guys and they'll kind of get back to normal. All right, Doc, let's get to the best streamers heading into tonight's game. Who do you got?
Well, this is chalky and obvious. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's not playing tonight. Casey Wallace has played at least 30 minutes in 6 straight games. A lot of those included Shai. I think we saw a game when Shai was out last week, maybe, when Casey Wallace had 27, 8, and 7. He gets steals. He shoots threes. Sometimes he hits them. But points, rebounds, assists, steals, threes. I just think Casey Wallace is super strong tonight.
Yeah, don't get comfortable over there, Doc, because I'm going to make a streaming recommendation that's pretty obvious, and there's not a lot to talk about here. It's Ty Jerome. If he's available somehow in your league and folks aren't hip to the top 20 value that he's been producing when on the floor this season, then you need to stop and go get him right now. Even if he's not playing, I think you probably need to stop and go get him, because even if he plays 1 out of every 2 games, it feels like he's going to actually have enough value to get you by. And I think they want him to play like, say, 60%, 75% maybe of the games going forward. 50 would be bad. 40 would be even worse. But like 60, I feel like that's a good number there. And Ty Jerome probably produces in the top 75 to 100 range on a cumulative basis with the kind of numbers that he's putting up right now, which are pretty bonkers. All right, Doc, who you got?
Norm Powell is out tonight for the Heat, which means Pelle Larsson should get plenty of time to do his thing again. Last game, he played 35 minutes, had 20 points, 4 boards, 4 dimes, and a 3. He gets 30 minutes a lot. Sometimes he does a lot with those minutes. Sometimes he doesn't. But I feel like anytime a guy like Norm Powell is out, it's good news for Pelle Larsson.
Yeah, and I think he's got some staying power for the rest of the season as well. And he's going to be a guy that we'll probably talk about next season as well. Let me take us, Doc, to one Nick Clifford, and pretty damn noisy lately. And they're definitely giving him the ball and letting him do whatever. And take all of that for what you will. The bottom line is he's going to play a lot. And he's been in the kind of the back end of the middle rounds, early, late rounds. When you add it all up, to me, that's a win. This guy's stat set heading into this tanky portion of the last couple weeks for the Kings, they just did not scream like he was going to be in the top 90 to 100 range. It screamed more like he's going to play 30 minutes and stay in the top 125, 150, maybe even 175 with the lack of defensive stats. But he's picked it up in that area. He's got the field goal shooting to a svelte 40%. And, you can manage all of that, especially if your stat set can support that. He can even be a lot better for you. And who knows, maybe he can just clean it up and have all of the things work in his favor down the stretch for the Sacramento Kings. So I like him a lot as a streamer and maybe a rest of season guy, but he's probably already rostered. At any rate, Doc, who do you like?
I've got Dennis Schroeder written down here. Donovan Mitchell is out again. And in his last 3 games, Schroeder has gone for 26 points and 5 dimes, 12 points and 9 dimes, 12 points and 5 dimes. He's got a steal in, 7 straight games, I believe. He hits threes, he has a little bit of everything. James Harden's playing with a banged up thumb. I just think we're going to get another Schroeder game tonight.
Yep. Dennis Schroeder, pretty consistent with what he does when he's not playing for the Sacramento Kings. And you know who is playing against the Sacramento Kings tonight? It's Royce O'Neal. And he's been pretty quiet lately. And Phoenix has been pretty bad lately. Like, their offense has struggled. And a lot of the absences have contributed to that. They've played some decent competition at times during that span. So I think they're hungry. They haven't played for a while. They're going to be rested. Sacramento is going to happily roll over for them. And Royce O'Neal, if he was to get loose and kind of get his game back on, that would not be surprising at all. Multiple cash counting stats, threes, steals, blocks, something like, say, 17 points and a bunch of goodies, I think is on the way for Royce O'Neal. So enjoy it for a night. And Doc, you got anybody else?
Just two guys, honorable mentions. In his last game, Andre Drummond had 10 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, and 4 steals with 2 3-pointers. I'm feeling like riding a hot hand again tonight with Joel Embiid out again. Now, do I trust Drummond to do that again? Not really, but he's so cheap in DFS and he's available everywhere. I think maybe he's turned the motor back on after that Sunday game against Boston. So Andre Drummond, and then with Kelly Oubre out for Philly tonight, I think Quentin Grimes is a sneaky play.
I guess it all depends on if Tyrese Maxey's going to let anybody else shoot the ball, but and more power to him. Tyrese Maxey's had one of the best seasons I can recall in a while for a player that people didn't expect to have that kind of a season. So good stuff there. I'll take us to Chicago, and I don't like these plays against Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City, even minus guys, has this way of taking the air out of a box score for opponents, and it's been demonstrated all year long. They are very banged up right now, so that might work against that concept. But Trey Jones, Leonard Miller, Nick Richards has a terrible stat set, so I do not get excited at all about what he's doing. But if he was to double and in your points formats, if those kinds of things are going to work out for you, but usually overall it's kind of outside of the top 200. Leonard Miller has been very noisy and interesting, so we're going to keep an eye there. It's been very low minutes and very low data. And then Trey Jones is starting to see his minutes limit get lifted, and he has been very good in the past, top 75 good in the past, and a very efficient game. Not a lot of threes, but can get you assists and steals and score. And that's going to do it for this episode of Fantasy NBA Today. If you're listening on the pod feed, take 60 seconds, leave a 5-star review. It really helps us out. Thank you so much. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the Sports Ethos channel so you guys never miss an episode. From Doc, Andre, and everybody here at Sports Ethos, we will be right back with our daily fantasy deep dive, available exclusively on the Fantasy NBA Today pod feed and the Sports Ethos YouTube channel. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by FanDuel.
Deep dive
next.